Hello, everyone. Welcome to Adventures in Good Health, sponsored by Dr. Tates, Herbal Tinctures and Tonics. Please be sure to like and subscribe. That really helps us grow the show. When one says that they need to detox, what exactly is meant by that statement? Well, Dr. Tates Herbal Tinctures and Tonics has a product that's been on the market for over 20 years called Detox. But what's in it? What does it do? And when should someone take it? We have the right person to answer those questions in detail. We are joined by naturopath, herbalist, author, and ambassador of integrated medicine with over half a century of herbal medicine experience, Dr. Stephen Tates. Let's get started. Hello, Doc. Welcome to the show today.
Thank you for having me.
So, Doc, what are we going to talk about today?
We're going to talk about, one of our tonics.
Okay.
Called the Detox.
Detox.
Docs.
All right.
D-O-C. Detox.
Docs, as in your detox.
Yes.
All right. All right, Doc. Tell us about your detox.
Well, we've talked before in previous podcasts about bitter herbs.
Right.
And how they tend, with some exceptions, to be the most powerful forms of herbs. They're basically root-based herbs that are very powerful cleansers, rebuilders for the body. And the Detox falls into that bitter herb category. That's why if you see any of our bottles, you see our slogan, bitter but better. Because people are like, oh, this is bitter. I don't want to take it. Well, you don't want to get better. Can you sweeten it? No. I remember when we first came out with it, people said, well, nobody's going to take something that's bitter. It's got to be sweet or salty. I said, they will take it because they'll start to feel the difference, and they'll suck it up and keep taking it because it
And
knows
that would have been,
word.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean, but that was like over 20 years ago, wasn't it?
Yeah. Still get people, especially people that are new to it, just said, does it have any sweetness? No. Does it have any salt? No. So how does it taste? It's bitter. Well, I can't take any bitters. I said, well, you don't want to get well.
It's not horribly bitter.
No, it's not gag you with a spoon kind of bitter. But see, most people are used to sweet tasting or salty tasting stuff. Sour or bitter, especially bitter, is not something that they typically consume. But it's one of the more powerful aspects.
So a detox. So my first question is, what is a detox?
Well, detox, the term detox, which has been misused a lot, is helping the body in cleansing, blood circulation, increasing the blood circulation that's stagnant, which contributes to high cholesterol, diabetes, high blood pressure, insulin resistance, aches and pains in the joints because stuff is not moving. I have this old saying, movement is life, stagnation is death. The more your body's stagnant, the more stuff is not moving, the more fungus and bacteria and impurities store in the body, which then weakens the body's natural defenses. And then when it weakens the body's natural defenses and the immune system, then you're subject to all kinds of environmental issues or just issues in your body because your diet and your lifestyle is poor. So the bitter herbs help in starting to remove those impurities out. And our detox is really good for helping that. Okay.
So who would be taking a detox versus, say, a blood tonic?
The difference is, especially the strength. And you'll see with the detox, we have 1 ounce every couple of hours. Okay. Now, there's a few reasons for that. One is that people who are trying to cleanse something out of their system in a hurry, basically they got blood or urinary tests coming up,
Okay.
because they've been taking things they shouldn't be taking. But what we don't tell people is that when you're continually taking a detox, it cuts down on your cravings for those things that, you're being tested for. Now, if we told people that, they might not take the detox, okay? But we want to make sure that it's helping the body be able to flush very quickly. But beyond the drug recreational kind of thing, the detox deals with heavy metal poisoning, mercury and lead, cadmium, things like that that store in the cells and in the joints in the body, brings it up to help it flush out of the system. A lot of times people who have mercury fillings in their in their teeth, in the caps of their teeth, and you have to have them extracted. Sometimes when you take too many of those teeth out with the mercury filling, it can cause toxic poisoning, cause the liver to go into crisis and in shock. And so the detox helps in flushing that stored up, heavy metals out of the body.
Now, I've heard some people have mentioned that they will help cancer patients who've completed their chemotherapy regimen. Absolutely. And the patient would actually be referred by the oncologist to detoxify.
Yeah.
Is that
would fall to Dox Detox?
Dox Detox is something that is potentially used for that purpose.
Because it will start to remove the side effects of the medication, that comes, and the medication is still stored in the body that's inactive now. The Dox Detox will help flush that out very quickly out of the system. After people have dealt with the chemo treatments, it helps, offset some of the side effects. But then here's the beauty with the Dox Detox. You can be on chemo or radiation, not that I recommend it unless it's an emergency, and still be taking a Dox Detox. You just don't do, herbal medicine, especially like, our bitters, right around the same time of the day that you might be getting your chemo.
Is this something, if someone were considering that, I'm going to assume that they would definitely need to have, update their oncologist about what they were thinking about doing. Is that correct?
Yes, but some oncologists will understand that, and talk about it. Some are like, they're dead set against anything other than what they recommend. Even though there's scientific proof that shows that when you're detoxifying the system and the more it's under control, but faster, the better the body responds to even medical treatment. So you have some that's just shut down. Like, no, don't take any vitamins, don't take any herbs, don't take anything that cleanses the body. But scientifically, when you're getting the blood to move, when you're getting the bowels to move, and the detox helps really accelerate the circulation of our blood and our urinary tract, which then in turn helps to flush our liver and our kidneys, our gallbladder, our bladder, our spleen. So it's helping in lymph glands. It's helping to move that stuff out, very quickly. That's why when I see people and the system is toxic from their diet, their lifestyle, medical treatment, and they need to start moving stuff out because they're starting to get the side effects from the medication. The Dox Detox can safely help with that. You just don't take it right after you take your medication. You want to keep, 3-4 hour time.
So just to be clear, if someone is on a cancer treatment, they would want to let their oncologist know. They just might not. The oncologist may just not know much about it, or
typically the oncologist won't. That's changed some with some of the younger, oncologists. Because there was a point in time that studying diet and understanding the benefits of exercise and drinking water and taking supplements and herbs was not taught in the medical schools. Now, some of the medical schools at least say, don't shut down, the opportunity to understand that certain herbs and supplements can help complement and not clash with the treatments that people were taking. Okay.
Okay. So, Doc, we're just going to deep dive into what's in Doc's Detox?
Okay. First herb is Gentian.
Gentian.
Gentian. We talked about that as a separate herb in the previous podcast.
Yes.
And the Gentian, the pot that we use typically is the root. Sometimes we use the bark,
Okay.
I like the bark of the tree, but the most powerful part of the Gentian herb is the root. It's like the king of bitter herbs.
The king of bitter herbs, all right?
Okay. Now, it helps with digestive problems. And digestive problems, poor digestion means poor bowel movement. Poor bowel movement means an increase of fungus and bacteria. The increase of fungus and bacteria in the body causes an acceleration of the breakdown in the body. Okay, so it helps with digestive problems. Powerful, extremely powerful blood cleanser. And part of it is because it loosens up stuff that's stuck in the arteries and veins, and it flushes out of the system really fast.
Okay.
Right? Now, not out of control, but it definitely flushes out. And when you're drinking water, sometimes as you're drinking the water and taking the Doc's Detox, your urine might be an odd color in the beginning because it does help move waste from previous medications that have been taken out of the system. So the color may be strange short term, then it will clear up. You'll be like, why is my urine blue? Okay,
so yeah, that would be...
Yeah, they were gray. I have blue urination, but then it clears up before you finish.
Okay, all right, well, that's good.
So I like to let people know, like, if you get strange, multicolored things, that's a good sign, because that means that's byproduct of the waste from the medication that the body's now throwing out. So the short and long-term side effects is not there because the detox is helping to remove those things that are inactive as far as helping the body in the medication, but screwing up the body with its potential side effect. Okay?
All right, what is the next herb?
Okay, no, we're on to finish these other parts of the Gentian. It's a urinary tract cleanser. It's a kidney and liver flush, so it helps flush the kidneys and liver.
Okay.
It helps with digestive problems, loss of appetite, bloating, heartburn, diarrhea, muscle spasms, and sometimes will help with fever as well. Okay, lowers blood pressure, cholesterol, menstrual disorders. Very powerful anti-inflammatory. Do you know why it's a very powerful anti-inflammatory?
Why? Because
of where it's helping the blood move.
Okay.
And as increase in the blood movement, it helps with that. But it also has what we call a hepatoprotective property, which means it helps protect the liver. And the liver regulates everything in the body, which one of the reasons why Gentian ends up the king of herbs, because the liver regulates over 500 major and minor functions in the body, which basically
a very important organ, to say the least.
Yeah. You don't want the liver pissed at you. You're better with your heart pissed at you than your liver pissed at you. So it has a way of protecting the liver because the liver helps remove toxins and poisons out or neutralize it. So the Gentian helps protect the liver and keep it strong as it's helping to try to remove stuff out of the system. And this is very important because we don't want damage to the liver. Now, the next herb is our burdock root.
Burdock root?
Yeah, burdock. And Gentian and burdock, they're like a happy married couple.
Okay.
They get along really well. I mean, because then, although the burdock, the Gentian is not part of the dock family, like the yellow dock and stuff like that, but the burdock blends really well. One enhances the other. So the burdock can stand alone, but mixed together, those two all by itself helps a lot because the burdock contains chemicals that help fight bacteria and fungus in the body. It helps reduce swelling. It is also an anti-inflammatory, like the Gentian. It also helps with blood circulation. But it also helps with joint swelling. kind of different from the Gentian. So
Right.
when you get swelling in the joints, it helps reduce the swelling because of its properties. It's unique in helping to reduce that swelling in the joints, because swelling in the joints contribute to arthritic or gout kinds of pains. So when you add in the Burdock and Gentian together, then what it's doing is it's helping. Each has similar things, but has separate things as well.
Okay.
So that's why they complement each other. So it helps with joint swelling, aging of the skin. With Gentian doesn't help with the aging of the skin, the Burdock does. Because you see people when they start to wrinkle up and stuff, that's inflammation and poor blood circulation and toxins in the blood. Now you see somebody, it's like, you see them, and then you see them 2 years later, and it looks like they aged 20 years. You say, how you doing? I've been doing fine. Look like, looks like he's 30 years older than I just saw him last month or 6 months ago. So it slows down the aging in the skin and actually starts reversing some of the aging. I know a lot of these women who listen to the podcast like, what? I need my detox, because the combination of the Burdock and Gentian together makes that happen. The Burdock helps with joint swelling, and like I mentioned, the aging of the skin.
Right.
As natural dietary fiber, which improves the digestion. So it has that fiber in it, and it also is an overall blood purifier. Okay? Then from that, the next ingredient is sarsaparilla.
Sarsaparilla. Now, is that going to be a root as well?
Yeah, all these are roots.
These are all roots.
These are all roots, that's what makes it more powerful. This is all root. Now, the Burdock and Gentian, the Burdock is primary. That's like number one. And, Gentian is primary. But then Burdock is like 1B. Like you got, one, number one is Gentian, Now 1B would be the Burdock, Then 1C, would be the sarsaparilla. It complements the Burdock and Gentian. It helps in treating skin disorders like psoriasis and other skin diseases. And this is, when I mention these things, I'm mentioning it like if you're taking Burdock by itself, or Gentian by itself, or the sarsaparilla by itself. Okay.
Right.
Now, when you're mixing them together, you see you're creating this mosaic, of stuff that
because I'm thinking that you chose these herbs for a particular reason.
Absolutely. One, because they blended well.
Okay.
I've seen some mixtures where they have like 25 different herbs in them. Like, really? That cancels each other out. So, and herbal science is an art of simpling. You don't add things just to make it look good. You add them because they blend well with the other things. If sarsaparilla, primary, like the Burdock and Gentian, no. Is it complementary? Absolutely. Because it helps the Burdock and Gentian be able to do its thing, and then the sarsaparilla has its own unique things, like helping with psoriasis, or skin diseases, because it's helping moving that stuff from the outside of the skin, flushing it, helps with the kidneys, it helps with digestion, it helps with the urinary flow, whereas the Burdock and Gentian primarily helps with the blood, but also helps with the urine flow. As we talked about that strange color coming out. But the sarsaparilla is unique more for the urinary tract than the bloodstream, which is why I picked that one to go with the Burdock and Gentian, because the Burdock and Gentian are focusing on, the blood flow and stuff. The sarsaparilla tends to work on the urinary tract system, kidneys, bladder, spleen, pancreas, other kinds of stuff. So now all the fluid areas in the body are starting to flush. The sarsaparilla helps with fluid retention. So it helps reduce that stored up fluid, which makes people look bigger than they should. Great anti-inflammatory. Helps with things like leprosy and syphilis. Doesn't,
You said leprosy?
Leprosy, the biblical thing.
Okay.
Which we say, why am I worried about that now? Because that was biblical. Well, Right now it's coming back again. So with that and some of the other respiratory and other problems, the detox becomes even more important because in our environment, the air pollutions and everything else and new fungus and bacteria, the detox can help meet those needs that our body needs, whether it's the urinary tract or the lymph glands or the kidneys or the liver or the circulatory system, okay? It helps with performance. It helps with the joint pain, but it helps when you're working out. Now, the whole tonic helps, but the sarsaparilla helps with performance issues, whether it's at work, you're lifting, moving boxes, or, you're trying to exercise and stuff. Having the sarsaparilla in with the burdock and gentian, that combination works well to help with our performance level.
So when I've taken the detox, one of the things I remember very clearly about it is that it gives you a lot of energy.
Yes.
Which is a great thing at 8 a.m., not necessarily a great thing at 11 p.m. So
right.
People need to be aware that it gives you a lot of energy. Is that the sarsaparilla that's doing that?
That's actually the combination of all three.
Okay.
But the sarsaparilla is the primary, I don't want to use the word culprit, but it's the primary.
Well, I mean, it's a good thing. It gives you energy.
It gives you energy. Except if you're getting ready to go to bed.
Well, yeah.
And you're taking it and your eyes are all open.
Eyes are wide open.
Yeah.
Like, why am I not sleeping?
Yeah. Now you got to take something to help you sleep, but it does help with our urinary tract system.
Okay.
In particular, okay, which when it helps with the urinary tract system, and then you have the burdock and gentian, indirectly, it helps with the inflammation of the prostate, prostatitis, or the swollen prostate, which comes from poor blood circulation. So with the detox, men with prostate problems, and you're taking the detox, it helps that because it's reducing the swelling, which then helps with the blood flow, which then helps with the performance level. But more important to me than the performance level is that our liver, which we talked about with the herb, and our sexual organs are the 1 and 2 as far as our immune system. So the better those two things are doing, the better our immune system is. Okay. And last but not least, yellow dock root. Now, yellow dock root and burdock root, they're part of the same family.
They're both docks.
They're part of the dock family. D-O-C-K.
But not the same. Okay, but D-O-C-K, not D-O-C apostrophe S.
Right. No.
All right.
People might say, what are you talking about stuff? No. It's part of the dock family, yellow dock, burdock, and stuff. So that also complements. The yellow dock is, even by itself, let alone in combination, is very good for pain because of the way it's reducing the inflammation combined with the other herb, especially in the respiratory tract, the nasal passages and respiratory tract. So the yellow dock, upper area of the body, it reduces that swelling of the sinuses and stuff to help reduce, that as an issue for the body. So now you've got something that's moving the blood, helping flush the liver, helping reduce swelling in your sinuses, and helps that draining of your sinuses and stuff. So, you got a good combination of stuff going on in the body. Sexually transmitted diseases, STDs, because it's helping moving fungus and bacteria out of the system. It helps with bacterial infections. It kills parasites. It helps with fungi. It actually helps with hemorrhoid. Now, this is just the yellow dock by itself.
Just the yellow dock by itself.
Now, it's mixed with this, with this lover, which is, the burdock. And then it has the king of the bitter herb, which is the gentian, So we have the burdock and the gentian, the sarsaparilla and the yellow dock, and they all blend well together. And then when you're doing that ounce every couple of hours, you can begin to see, if you've got fungal infections or urinary tract problems or circulatory problems, and the pain is coming and you want to ease that, that's where that ounce every couple of hours comes in. Yes, it helps in cleaning the blood, but it also cuts down on the cravings for stuff that people shouldn't be putting in their body, especially sugar, salt, because of the way it's cleansing, it cuts down on the physical cravings. Now, the emotional craving
Right.
is another issue. Okay.
But the physical cravings, it helps. It helps with that.
You're not waking up in the middle of the night and your body's saying, sugar, bread, peanut butter, so it cuts down on the physical cravings. So when you're mentally ready to make those changes, the Detox helps you bridge those first stages because it cuts down on the physical cravings, which makes it easier for you to start to make those lifestyle changes.
All right, so I'm going to try to do this from memory. Gentian, Burdock, Sarsaparilla root, and yellow dock root.
Here we go.
There we go. 4.
Get 4 stars on your forehead.
All right.
Okay.
So I was talking to another naturopath, Idris Ali, in the Atlanta area, and he was very complimentary of your tonics. And now I'm paraphrasing what he said, but he said that they're relatively simple in their ingredients, but they've got the heavy hitters, and they're not overdone. Now, I may be paraphrasing, but it was. You kind of touched on that a few minutes ago when you said, "Well, we don't have 25 ingredients in there," and trying to figure out, well, what is. It seems like these are very single-minded tonics.
Yeah, and that's a good compliment because old school herbalists, going back decades and centuries, we always believed the art of simply. And you've heard me say that before. Simple is better. You can overdo something, and that ends up being marketing. The art of simpling is one herb may be enough. 2, 3, 4. When you get into 8, 9, 10, I don't know what to do with all of that at one time because it might be too overbearing or it may clash. So
right, because herbs can have interactions with other herbs.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. So this is like the Detox is like a happy family because they have similar roles but different roles at the same time. And each one helps enhance the other to create that kind of process that works for the body.
Now, something I've noticed when reading the label is that people, they take it at a pretty good frequency. So they're going to go through a bottle
very quickly,
pretty fast. Is that's part of the detox? Is that you're trying to kind of to hit these toxins and things versus the longer approach, which might be the blood tonic?
Yeah, and
or am I saying that the right?
Well, only partially. The detox is like, I need to hurry up and start cleansing.
Do you take it all the time, or is it more for specific instances over the course of a year that you would take it?
Both. Depends on your circumstance.
Okay.
Both. If you got a lot of heavy metals, it's going to take a while to come out.
Okay.
Just want to keep that heavy detox, But the blood tonic, which is something we'll cover at another time, that's something that might be regular. But a lot of my people take the detox on a regular basis as well. They may not do an ounce every 2 hours because they don't have to do an ounce every 2 hours. So they may do, a capful 2-3 times a day, to help flood. Because a lot of us store decades worth of poisons in the body. And people like it because they start to feel based on how they're urinating, how the blood circulating, how the swelling is going down, that this really works.
Are there any considerations that someone would want to take into account before taking a Dox Detox?
Not really. I would say probably when people are on blood thinners, like Coumadin or heparin or something like that.
Okay.
Then the blood cleansing needs to be more in moderation because they're on blood thinners. So the detox may be something you take a couple of times a day, or you just do the blood tonic, But, that's the only, really, really red flag. The other one would be sometimes people take the Diet Detox and don't make changes in their lifestyle.
Oh, well, that would be a risk.
Yeah, I said, well, the Diet Detox is really cleaning my system, so I can still take my drugs. I still can drink my alcohol the way I'm doing. I can still eat, pork every day, because I'm taking a Diet Detox. Well, but why are you taking it if you're not going to make changes? Because the whole purpose in tonics that we have is to help enhance people's ability to start to take control of their life and their health. They regret not doing it when they're in their 50s, 60s, 70s and stuff, and they got heart conditions, cholesterol, and diabetes all at one time. Now they're on a boatload of medication, from insulin to cholesterol medication, stuff that's killing their body at a more rapid state because they didn't make the changes early. Many of the medications sometimes can put a check on the breakdown of the body, depending on the medications, but the long-term cleansing and healing of the body, medication is not going to do it. You've got to make changes. That's why our kitchen medicines, that's why the foods we talked about on podcasts, that's why learning about anti-inflammatory foods and taking a tonic. But the tonics are a good aid in helping you as you're making changes in your lifestyle. You see the results even faster. It helps if you're not making changes, but it really, really helps when you're making changes.
Well, Doc, thank you very much. You went into considerable detail.
Well, see, you left me open, because the danger is to put a microphone in front of me and let me just tell my thing.
We have the products. They're out there.
Mm-hmm.
Doc's Detox has been over 20 years.
Mm-hmm. I'm not that old. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Okay. But the tonic is. There we go.
Yeah,
there we go. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But people need to know what's in the tonic. What does it do?
Mm-hmm.
They need to understand what it should do, because you mentioned if you take the tonic, but you don't change
the lifestyle,
the intake, then it's not really going to do anything.
You're
just going to keep.
It helps, but you don't get the full results.
Yeah. So people need to know that. People need to know that. And if anyone has any questions, can they just reach you?
Yes, they can call me at 44943-1171. And like I've said on most of the podcasts, they need to mention that they heard us on our podcast. They heard us talking about particular subjects, so that I can know, in talking to them, that they're not people that are just curious, or nosy. They're people that are really, in a situation where they want to learn how to take care of the body better. Body might be in crisis, or they might be trying to prevent issues, or a family member got real sick and started to scare them, and they said, I need to make changes. And I listened to the podcast. Now I want to talk to Dr. Tates about how I need to make changes, and that's what I'm here for.
And now a quick word about our sponsor, Dr. Tates Herbal Tinctures and Tonics. Dr. Tate's all-natural herbal formulas, which are the true definition of herbal tonics, have been available for over 20 years. These specially formulated herbal tonics are designed to help cleanse, heal, rebuild, and revitalize your body, which will help improve your overall health. Dr. Tate's offers the Herbal Blood Tonic, Doc's Detox, Herbal Fat Burner, Herbal Female Tonic, and Herbal Male Tonic. If you would like to learn more about the tonics and where to pick up your bottle, call 404-459-8696 or visit drtates.online. That's drtates.online. All links and contact information is available in the podcast and YouTube descriptions. That does it for this episode of Adventures in Good Health. We would like to hear from you regarding this podcast and any suggestions you have for future podcasts. You can reach us at Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Please subscribe and leave a rating or a review. Until next week, this is David Malouf exploring natural approaches to good health.